program is Security Focus. My name is Ifunaya Amathli. And when we talk about protecting lives and properties of people, sometimes we've seen in the system that abuse can happen. We have with us in the studio Dede Uzo A. Dede Uzo A. Uzo. Yes, he's the chairman, human rights defender. He's also the National Publicity Secretary, Campaign for Democracy. Many thanks for being with us. And then we have with us Mr. Charles Ejefonye. He's a lecturer of political science, Nwafo Orizu College of Education, Secretary, Human Rights Defender, Chief Training Officer, Human Rights Volunteer Corps, and then Chairman, Know Your Rights Foundation. Many thanks for being with us, sir.
Thank you very much.
So when we talk about human rights, who do we start with? I'll start with the chairman. Okay, I should start with the secretary. Okay, good. So we'll start with you, Secretary, Mr. Charles Ejefonye. When we talk about human rights, what does it mean?
Actually, human rights is inalienable right given to us by God. It's divine right,
okay,
natural right. It's not given to us by the government or by our parents. We are born with it.
Okay.
Given to us by God. It's inseparable. It can never be divorced from us. So it's inborn.
Okay.
Right? And we have to defend it and protect it in order to enjoy it. That is human rights in a nutshell.
Okay, so you're the chairman of Human Rights Defenders. What do you do as an organization? It's a civil society organization, I guess. So what do you people do?
Of course, just like what the secretary have just said. Let me use what happened a few days ago as a case study. There is flood victims.
Yes.
Recently. So our organization contributed money.
Okay.
Yeah, we went to Waru local government. Government cannot do everything.
Absolutely.
So we started to assist them. We raised a huge amount of money, buy foodstuff and other things, visited them one. Then the second one, we visited people who are stationed at Crowder Primary School.
Okay.
People from all these river areas. So we assist them. Then also we organize seminars, workshops where we educate people. We are going to also have a December 10 Universal Declaration of Human Rights, where we are going to have a public lecture, to enlighten people
on their human rights. According to a 2017 UN United States Department report, one of the most prevalent human rights abuses in Nigeria are predominantly extrajudicial killings, disappearance of people or arbitrary detention, torture, especially when you're in custody, denial of a fair trial, sometimes even violation of court orders. As we proceed in the program, we'll talk about people that the court had granted bail or a release, and the government still detained them. So when we talk about this kind of human rights issues, let's start with freedom of press. The freedom of press. We all say there's an FOI bill. But we all know that at the same time, people are not at liberty to discuss, how they want to on whatever platform, whether it's on the TV or the radio or the conventional print media. So definitely there's a quote and unquote behind the POI bill. And we're also aware that certain journalists have been picked up in different places around the world. The most popular one is the most recent one with the Saudi Arabian embassy. I think the journalist Khashoggi. Yes, and they're still investigating, the events to that. What does human rights do in instances like this?
The most important thing people and we should do is to be equipped with information.
Okay.
Because when you lack information, I think that is the basic thing.
Okay.
Many people we are not informed. And when you are not informed, you don't know how to defend your rights. So the case of Jamal Khashoggi is a very serious case. Yes, Khashoggi is a journalist who was criticizing the government of Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
So he based in the US. He went to Turkey to do one or two things.
Story. Yes, he went there for.
So he went to the consulate to do one or two things to formalize his travel documents. So he was allegedly murdered. So the matter is still in the investigation. So such matter is a very critical matter. And there is a plot by some Saudi Arabian authorities to convert the course of justice either try to, make sure that what led to that man's death was not, was not revealed. So those things were actually the challenges we have, So, but I believe at the end of the day, American government have mounted serious pressure to.
Let me ask Mr. Charles this question. You're the chairman of Know Your Rights Foundation, because you mentioned that now, Dede Uzo, when we're talking, that one of the things that when we have human rights issues is that people are not adequately informed. Are those part of the things that your organization does, like ensuring people know these are the things that the law protects them from? And so if anything happens contrary to that, they should stand up for it.
Yeah, if I should take us back historically, by 1914, when this entity we call Nigeria today came into being,
during the
by
acclamation,
1923, there was a constitution put in place. That constitution was remarkable in the sense that it introduced what is known today as elective principle. By implication, that elective principle gave Nigeria increased awareness of their political right. That was when the first political party, that is NNDP, was formed in 1923.
Okay.
So people,
which is long before independence.
Yeah, people became aware of their political right and start agitating. The agitation continues, but after the independence of most African countries in 1960s and 70s, the awareness was increased a bit. Or it continues like that, but the basic knowledge is still lacking. We are developing nations. We are not as exposed and enlightened as the Western world. So basically, we've discovered that knowledge, the Bible says, my people suffer for want of knowledge. We've discovered that knowledge is lacking. And if you're not informed, you will be deformed. So we start by impacting knowledge.
So how do you do that?
Good. Like he pointed out, we organize seminars, workshops, conferences. We do advocacy, right? We share pamphlets. We go to churches. We go to villages. We deliver lectures to them free of charge.
Just to create that awareness that people should know their rights. I know you're the National Publicity Secretary of Campaign for Democracy. That's Dede Uzo, Uzo. And I went through some of your articles talking about human rights abuses. I know that there was a period when they had trafficking of children. In your article, people had talked about baby factories in the southeast.
Yes.
What's the drive like? How is it coming along? I know some of the you mentioned. Well, I won't call the states, even though Anambra was not on that list. But there were two other states in the southeast who had the highest number of those, of those incidences. These are very verifiable facts. I think Abia and Imo were the two states that had the highest. So how have you been going about in ensuring that, child trafficking, baby factory is reduced to its barest minimum?
All right. The case you mentioned is a very challenging case. A woman who had 3 children.
Okay.
And she was brought from Ebonyi State, and 3 of her children was forcibly taken away from her.
Forcefully taken?
Yes, she was deceived and sent to Lagos for prostitution, while the 3 children was, taken away and sold to someone. At
what ages are these children?
The other one is 4 years. It is very, very painful that the 4 years one has not been found up to now. But we could be able to recover 2. That one is 6 years and 9 years.
Okay.
So, and the 9 years old one was handed over to one of our member, who gave him a scholarship presently.
Okay, to go to school.
Yes. Okay. So the problem is that the woman was deceived, and the children was taken away from her by a trafficker who claimed to be the secretary of welfare something in Imo State. So when the matter was brought to our attention, we moved in. We qualify have a financial challenge. So what we do is to we gain money and begin to fight for the woman. Eventually, police could be able to. In fact, there's kind of a complicity between some security men and the group.
Okay.
Because we discovered at the end of the day that the police cannot be able to do the necessary things they ought to do because of maybe financial inducement. So we fought, bring the involvement of Inspector General of Police, the former chairman of Police Service Commission. So we brought them and compelled the security men to do the necessary thing before the second child a girl was recovered.
Okay.
So there are many of them. So these are the challenges we are having: financial challenge and so on and so forth. So the woman was deceived, as I said, that they want to procure a job for her. She was sent to Lagos. Then while the 3 children was taken.
We're taken away. So, Mr. Charles, talking about what he's saying, child trafficking, and how the CD has, joined hands to fight all these things. I know the media has been going agog for the past 2 weeks about the young girl, Ochanya, that died a few days ago. And of course, from the general reports, sexual abuse is also one of the biggest issues of child trafficking that affects children, because when they traffic you, you're exposed to those kind of things. I know the young lady was staying with her relative, and then the father was assaulting her, and the son too was also assaulting the young child until she lost her life. And then there was an outroar. People came out, different groups came out talking about this. So for instances like that, what can a child do? If someone is being molested and you can't come to the family, which is where the molestation is coming from, what advice would you give maybe neighbors, schools, things that they could look out for and say, if you see signs like this, investigate. Someone is abusing somebody.
Yeah, you see, that is part of the reason why we are bringing knowledge to people. I wish our people can listen. The case of Ochanya was very, very pathetic. To start with, if you had read Things Fall Apart, you will discover that the greatest offense Okonkwo committed was killing a child that called him father.
Yes.
Now, in the case of Ochanya, the man that was supposed to be his father, now have turned out to abuse her. It's very, very pathetic. So you are asking the signs.
How does society protect a child from things like that?
No, the first thing they will do, if you don't know, you seek for people who know. Report cases. If you suspect things like that, look for any human rights organization, any police station, church group. Because there was a time somebody brought my attention to a child. She refused to go back from school. Then on further probing, they now discovered that the girl had a lot of marks on her body.
Okay.
So it was as a result of beating by a woman who's supposed to be her custodian. And now we have to take the girl home and brought the attention of the police, and the woman started begging and calling devil that it was devil.
It's always the devil who is doing everything. Nobody ever.
So if you're walking around, you see a child who is exhibiting some level of fear, something must be wrong.
Okay.
Yes, something is wrong.
So can let's say like me now.
Let me just chip something. This year alone, we have rescued about 15 children.
When you say rescued, from what? From
the various families.
Okay.
Yes, we have rescued about 15.
Okay.
Last week we rescued a lady of 13 years. Auntie was assaulting her, but she plays hot this thing to her private part. I have the pictures here with me. It's a hot knife,
on her body.
Yes, those things. So when the matter was brought to our attention, we involved the police. I want to commend the effort of the Nigerian police, especially DP of Ege, who normally react immediately. We draw such a thing to his attention.
Okay.
So we rescued many. This year, 15 children.
So the question I was going to ask was, can maybe me now, like an ordinary citizen, can I go to the police, whether I'm related to that person or not, and say I suspect this, or this young child has come to me and has talked about, even the citizens that has nothing to do can also make that kind of complaint?
Yes, there's a one now at Awada police station.
Okay.
Yes, a woman brought a lady to our office. That lady was brutalized. I just only have her picture here with me. So she said that she don't want to be mentioned. She wouldn't want the family to know that she was
the one who reported the
when
case.
the matter was brought, so we tried to protect her.
Okay, so your organizations too can protect the individuality of whoever is making the
we stand for the victim.
Oh, okay.
As a complainant.
Okay.
And I brought police and faced the matter.
Okay.
So that was it.
Let's ask now. I don't know which of you would answer this, but I want to ask: can cases like that be charged to court? For example, like I said, if I report a case and then we go to the police and it's prosecuted, it's taken, charged to court, and I refuse to be a plaintiff in that case, does your organizations too cover for people like that?
Yes. It depends on the circumstances, because if it is a matter that at the end of the day, if a caution is applied and maybe the lady have no other person to be handed over, we can still caution the family and make them to sign undertaking by the police.
Will harm that child.
Yeah, they will not harm. And
has it been very effective?
Yes, they will be. Yes,
it has been.
Yes, but
Mr. Charles was saying something. I didn't hear what he said.
I said it's working.
It's working. Okay, go ahead.
The other one is that if it's called that one, there's cases that they cannot stay together again.
Yes,
the matter will be charged to court. We ask police to charge them to court.
The National Human Rights Commission was established by an act in 1995. I think they even amended that establishment, the act in 2010. What's your synergy like with them as a civil society organization? And then both of you represent like 2 or 3 different organizations.
We are having some challenges until the emergency of the chairman, the chairman one Odinkalo. So that was the only chairman who was very, very proactive. Okay. When you do a letter to them, they don't respond.
Nowadays?
Yes, the letter I wrote, it was replied after 15 years. So tell me how such a matter can be, looked into.
After 15 years,
after 15 years. Days. 15 years.
15 years, 12 calendar years,
yes.
15.
So
the issue, whatever it is, would have been overtaken by time.
There are government agents, and some of them don't know what to do. So that is the challenge we are having with.
So what do you think the problem is, Mr. Charles? Do you think it's funding? Do you think it's like a physical attitude, or they just don't know what to do?
I think basically it's funding,
and lack of.
Then systemic, because there is what is called administrative bottleneck. You know that.
Yes.
When you write a letter, the letter will go from one office to the other. They will not respond immediately. And let me use this opportunity to commend the Nigerian police. When you write petition to them now, they respond immediately, within days. Anytime we write petition, they see our letterhead, they will respond to it.
Is it because they know your organization, or because that's just their standard format?
I know they are changing. Police has not been like that.
Okay.
But they're having new face now. So they are working.
Okay. Let's talk about extrajudicial killings, and you're talking about the police and you're commending them.
Yes.
However, a lot of people, and then like I said, this program is security focused, so we'll soon open the phone lines and people will talk. And people complain, yes, the police is doing a lot, but not doing enough. I'm happy they're reforming SARS, or SARS has been reformed. But those were one aspect of the Nigerian police force that had a lot of extrajudicial killings, extrajudicial or arbitrary detention of people.
Yes.
And, people couldn't really say anything. It was like a police it was like a police in a police, on its own. It had so much powers, but thank God the vice president, called them, and then they're reforming it. We already see SARS on the road again, like they used to be. But what's your experience with that?
You see, sometime last year, the human rights community was practically divided because there was an issue involving SARS.
Okay.
So while some of us were of the opinion that SARS should be reformed but not totally scrapped, we noticed some human rights abuses within SARS, but we are of the opinion that you cannot remove them completely. Rather, they will be reformed. So, and government is like they paid attention to that. Now SARS is reformed. And let me tell you, Nigerian police was a colonial legacy. They were so molded that they see the civilian as an enemy, and civilians see them as an enemy.
Yeah.
So there's a kind of conflict all the time. But let me shock you. As soon as we enter democracy from 1999, our voices are being heard more than before.
Yes.
On
Because there's
board,
freedom
don't
of
talk
speech.
freely.
Yes.
Yeah,
Of
you
course,
don't
in the
talk
military,
freely.
you wouldn't
So,
be able to.
Now,
yes.
you can imagine people openly criticizing SARS, and government has to look into it. So what we are doing is working. We've not gotten there, but I believe we will surely get there.
So it's Security Focus, and we're talking with Dede Uzo, and Mr. Charles Ejefonye. We're talking about human rights abuses and what civil societies like your organizations have been doing towards ensuring that people, one, know their rights and know that if they feel they can get redress for things that, for people or incidents that have abused their rights. Now, talking about the government and the rules that, the government can have in terms of human rights and human rights abuses, I want to talk about the most recent one, which is the Sheikh and the military clash that happened a couple of days ago in Abuja. And it brings to my attention that when Boko Haram started, it was about 8 years ago, it was almost in a scenario similar to this, but not even as wide or as large as what the Sheikhs are, with the issues between the Sheikhs and the military. I know when Boko Haram actually started, it started because the police then in Maiduguri, I think, killed their leader, Yusuf.
Yes.
And it was after the death of Yusuf that Boko Haram started being aggressive and then became a threat to Nigeria in general. You understand? Now, taking from that, if we come into El Zakzaky, who is the leader of the Shia Islamic movement, his wife, and I think over 100 members of the Islamic movement of Nigeria, which is their movement or their group, they were arrested in December 2015 without any trial. And then I think there's a court process that has asked for his release.
Yes.
And this is 2018, and he's still in custody.
Yes.
So there was in 2015, I know there was a military fight with his people, and I know about 300. I think the official figure was 300 and something people died during that attack. Yes. And then of recent, of course, we all saw on the news, on social media, the people too that died from this incident. In your experience as a human rights defender, whose rights do you think are being violated? The people clamoring for their belief, or the government trying to protect other people from them, quote and unquote?
The fact of the matter is that the government have not done well, by using force against their defenseless citizens.
Okay.
And also by disobeying court orders. There's order by ECOWAS court. There's order by state high courts, and so on and so forth, to release their leader.
Yeah, Ibrahim El-Zaki.
But the government insisted on holding him. So that was what led to the protest that led to the killing of these citizens. Yeah. And it's not good. So I think in a democracy, we have three tiers of government: the judiciary, and
executive, judiciary, and legislative. Yes.
I don't know why the judiciary has not been respected, because if the judiciary gave order to the executive, they could not obey it. We have anarchy. But now the judiciary have make a pronouncement and which the executive is supposed to obey, and they don't obey it. So it's not fair way for our democracy. So, and that was what is linked to the killing of innocent civilians. So government has not done well on that regard.
Yeah, Mr. Charles, but like he said, government, has violated an arm of its governance, where you said the judiciary has made a pronouncement and then the executive decides to ignore. So what do you think is the solution to that kind of issues?
The solution is simple: independence of the judiciary. That's all. Very simple.
Very simple.
Do you think that can happen in Nigeria?
Definitely, it's not going to happen overnight. Mm-hmm. Like what is happening now.
You think it's a good question, right? Because yes, do you think it can really happen in Nigeria?
Definitely.
That the judiciary is on its own, no interference with the executive, nothing?
I tell you, Some years ago, it is very difficult to transit from one government to another in Nigeria, but it's happening now.
Well, absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So we believe it will work.
Okay, good. See, that's one of the reasons why we say we like people like you on the program, because you never know who is caught in the quagmire, and then the person is wondering, there's this issue, what do I do? I'm afraid, maybe it's my neighbor or my landlord, they'll throw me out. And people, and I think Nigerians generally, we have this sit down look attitude. If it's not happening in my house, if it's not happening to me directly, nobody really wants to get involved. And I think one of the reasons is that they feel the police will waste my time. By the time you go there, exactly. You go there, they say, okay, buy form, fill this, 10 naira here, 50 naira here. It becomes more than what you've bargained for, and then people just like, I beg, I not get energy. And that's the end of this issue. So I would encourage both of you, and I commend you both too. It's not easy doing this, but also encourage people to, if not go to the police, come to you, because it might be easier for you. Like Mr. Charles was saying that he commends the police that their response time is 2-3 days, and I asked this question. I said, is it because they know your organization and they know you give them hits, as opposed to an individual who nobody really knows and then just and then just walks in. Okay, so we were saying about having the independence of the judiciary, which I had started laughing about, but he made a good point. We've gone through one transition from one government to another, things we never thought could happen. So let's see. We've talked about the functions. We've talked about the things you people do in your organizations. We've talked about what the average Nigerians should do if they have incidences. Is there any number you want to give people that if they want to call, they can call your office? Mr. Secretary, those numbers usually come from your portfolio. Those numbers usually come from your portfolio. So, yes, and then like our last caller said, what can he do? He saw something. People need to know where they can go to. So before the program runs out, you give us a number that we can give our audience. And I know Mr. Charles wants to say something. You're smiling, so say something. Let me know.
Oh, no, you said it all. Security issue is very, very dynamic. Mm-hmm. As society keeps developing, new methods and sophisticated ways of crime do come out. And with the state of unemployment and poverty and advent of internet, crime seems to be taking a kind of dangerous dimension. Yeah. So it's left for any government whose basic duty and responsibility is to protect lives and properties. Yes, to do something to tackle the menace as it comes. So, from what you pointed out, yes, there was a time Anambra State was the most secured state in the whole of 36 states of the Federation. I think it's still. There was still a time Anambra State was the most dangerous place to live in. Absolutely. We once had that unenviable record. Absolutely. So, comparatively, I think though there's a resurgence of terror in Onitsha now. And some people are referring to, I don't know how they will see it, as if we are operating government of out by taos for taos. You get that now? Yeah. Good. Because if you go to Onitsha now, taos are everywhere. Extorting money. They're intimidating people, harassing people. I need to mention this because are these government officials? Sometimes they wear aprons showing that government is backing them up. By issuing the sufficient authority to do that. From commissioners to the rest of them. So we are being armed to perpetuate this. Okay, I would investigate this issue because I don't like commenting on things that I'm not informed about. Very regularly. I know that a lot of people listen to this program, yes, and I would never like to give any information that I'm not sure about. Right. But you have said we should investigate the impunity that is going on in Onitsha, and I'm actually writing that down so that I don't. Please. Yes, and I would, and most probably ask you to after the program to refer me to one or two people. It's been lovely talking to all of you. I want to thank everybody for calling, our callers, and both of you most especially for honoring my invitation by being my guest. And remember, it's your right to defend yourself, not physically, but there are institutions there. The police is there to help protect your rights. The
civil societies are here. And if you would like to, are you giving me a number to call out?
Yes.
Which one? Yes. So please, if you would like to talk to the people from the human rights defenders, please call 080-9300-8350. That's 080-9300-8350, or call 080-38-990-620. That's 080-38-990-620. And you will talk to any of the officials from the human rights defenders. Thank you so much. Join us next week, Wednesday, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Goodbye.